Now, first off, I want to say if you clicked on this video thinking, oh god, not another R5 to R6 comparison, I don't blame you. I actually kind of agree with you. There are so many videos out right now about the new Canon cameras that are just either hyping it way up to be the greatest thing since sliced bread or saying, no, they're terrible, overheating. I get it. And I just wanted to make a video as another average consumer, enthusiast, photographer, filmmaker, and really just look at why me personally, I'm probably going to save up to get the R6 instead of the R5. And maybe a lot of you out there are probably thinking the same thing, mostly maybe because of the dual card slots, which is one of the big selling points to me. And I should say, I want to upgrade to the R6, which I think is a good upgrade from my current camera, the Canon 80D, which is an APS-C, crop sensor, and I think this would be a good move for the full frame. And I made a video about, the R itself and either get it or wait. You can check that out above. But when I looked at the specs, I thought, okay, cool, the 45 megapixel sensor on the R5 would be really great for landscape photos. And I don't think I had as good of an understanding as I should have about the 20 megapixel sensor on the R6, which I'm realizing more and more it can be better for low light photography. And since I do a lot of shooting photos and video in theater and a couple of concerts, which are in very low light, I thought, well, maybe there's something to that. And so I wanted to make more of a level-headed video to, whether or not it helps anyone out there, I don't know. This is just my perspective on why I'm leaning more towards the R6 from a practical standpoint. If you want to look up the specs, well, almost any website can show you. I first saw it on Canon Rumors, which is pretty reliable. And there are some level-headed, practical reviews so far, even though it's of the pre-production models. The guys over at DP Review, perspectives of people like Jared Poland, Tony Northrup. I like that they weren't going over the top with things. It's more of a practical, okay, here's the pre-production models, now let's wait and see for some, everyday reviews once the actual production models go out onto the streets. So upgrading from an 80D, a crop sensor camera, to full frame. I like that both have dual card slots, but it seems like the R5 is more meant for taking 8K video, as well as the SD card slot. So you got the SD and the CF Express, which those things are extremely expensive, not only for the card itself, but you got to get the card reader, and you need to be able to play back 8K footage, and then buy more hard drives, and either short-term or long-term, it doesn't really seem worth the investment. So the R6, I like that it's got two, UHS 2 SD card slots, which great for wedding photography. You got your backup there. Don't have to rely on footage that you yourself or most people out there right now are probably not going to be able to see in 8K. It's not that it's a bad option, but for myself and probably most average consumers out there, it doesn't seem necessary for the 8K and the CF Express slots, which is just going to cost more money. So it's another reason to go for the R6. And like I said, the 20 megapixel sensor in low light, I saw some examples and they look pretty good. And personally, I don't feel the absolute need to shoot everything in 4K. I understand that there's a lot of overheating issues out there. Shooting 24p, 4K, for little clips or maybe short YouTube videos, that's fine. And If it's still overheating at 30 frames a second or 60 frames a second, yeah, okay, that's not great, but it's something to plan for going ahead in the future if I'm going to be, making films in 4K now. Also, it really helps to plan ahead for that because I live in Texas, and seeing the temperatures that are needed to maintain a cool 4K recording, it's like, yeah, living in Texas and especially in the summer, it's not ideal. So I'm fine still shooting at 1080. It's plenty for the eyes, I think. Maybe unless you're making something for portfolio work or some broadcasting footage, I don't know. But also, for the R5 here, being able to film at 4K at 120 frames per second, that sounds cool, but do you really need it? No, I mean, if it enables you to crop in, just a little bit and still maintain that high quality footage, that's fine. I'm just going to stick with, being able to shoot with the R6 that can do 1080 at 120 frames per second. That is fine with me. It just means that, as usual, I just need to frame everything just right that I want to film for slow motion. And I think just upgrading in general to these mirrorless cameras, the fact that they have so many more autofocus points and can focus in right on the face or the eyes, whether person or animal, bravo, there's another reason to upgrade to either or, whichever you prefer. I just prefer the R6, for the fact that now I can shoot, 120 frames per second, in full HD and slow it down even better than 60 frames per second. If I were to record something in 4K, I probably wouldn't do it very long because those are big file sizes. And, you only have so much room on your computer before you need to keep buying more hard drives and more space. And then you just got to ask yourself, is the return on investment really necessary for 8K? I mean, if you're just going to be making the YouTube videos for fun, I'm assuming you have money to burn, in which case, buy me a camera. And IBIS, the in-body image stabilization, which I saw some footage of some, bigger name YouTubers with the pre-production models and how it kind of looks like the image stabilization kind of overdoes it in the corners, and it reminds me of some of the 4K footage or the image stabilization on my phone that looked really wonky on the edges. And I thought, I don't really need to concern myself with that so much for video. I mean, it helps if it means I don't have to invest in a pricey gimbal, but you get what you pay for, and the more stabilized you want something without having anything wonky, then you probably would invest in a gimbal just for the extra support. And of course, we all love silent shutter, being able to not have the click, 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 click sounds going off in public places. That's fine. And the battery, yeah, it kind of sucks that it can't take as many shots or as long of footage as, my APS-C camera can. But I understand why, because, a lot more is going into the live feed in the bag because it's not an optical viewfinder. There's an electronic viewfinder, so the battery's constantly working. And again, I know I've already said it before, but the overheating issue, it's like, yeah, okay. I don't know if it matters to the average consumer out there, which, there are 4K video cameras, but the quality and the aperture, the zoom range and focal range, I know it does play a part. Myself, I'm probably not going to film a whole lot in 4K, so I don't feel that I need to worry about it. And maybe you feel the same way. I don't know. I'm just trying to make this a more practical approach at how to look at these two new cameras. And I think for those who are going to film in 8K, I'm assuming it's probably for either broadcasting purposes or filming purposes for the bigger screen where 8K may make more of a difference. So more professional applications, yeah, I can totally understand someone getting an R5 for that, especially in the movie industry. That's fine because many things were shot on, I heard the Canon 5D Mark II, Mark III. I was like, oh, okay. So the more professional uses, yeah, I can see it. But for most of us, or at least for me, yeah, I think the R6 is where it's at. But maybe not anytime soon, given the current situation. Some of us just gotta pinch our pennies a little harder to save up for it. But who knows? Let me know what you think. Leave a comment down below. What are you looking for in either of these two cameras? Which makes more sense to you in the long run? I mean, do you think the dual card slots of the UHS 2 SD cards makes more sense? And would you be using that more for things like weddings over the one SD card and one CF Express? I don't know if many wedding couples out there are going to demand you film their wedding at 8K, because if they do, they're probably going to be very disappointed in the amount of time it's going to take to wait for it to cool off. But I don't know. Just let me know what you think down below, even if you appreciate that this video is not trying to hype anything up. I mean, I'm just saying it because I have Canon lenses and I'm kind of in a position where it just makes more sense for me to keep investing in another Canon body, which I like the menus and the color tones of Canon, so that's why I picked it. But again, let me know down below, and if you appreciated this, leave a little thumbs up, like, maybe subscribe if you'd be so kind. And that's it. Y'all be excellent. I'll see you in the next one.